Welcome to our pre-departure briefing. The time of your upcoming Panama Canal cruise is coming up fairly quickly. We'd like to answer some of your questions and go over some of the important things that you need to know. You're going to experience the brand new Panama Canal. You will fly beginning on April the 17th and you'll return home on May the 3rd. You're going to enjoy your time aboard the Emerald Princess. We're operating the new Panama Canal cruise in cooperation with Princess Cruises, one of the leading cruise lines in the industry who regularly receives a lot of awards for not only their itineraries, but also their ships, their entertainment, and their food. Your hosts for this occasion are going to be Jack and Leela Jean Howerton from Lions, and I'm sure that many of you have either traveled with them or know them. They're really excited and looking forward to meeting all of you. Your cruise, as I mentioned, is going to start out in California, so you'll be flying to LA, and is always true with our tours, we do like to include a pre-night. We always do that so that any delayed flights, cancellations, or anything of that nature, you're not stressed out and concerned about being able to reach the ship in time. So we're going to start out there, and I think what we'll do is let Larry take us on a journey from this point. And Larry, would you like to participate with us?
I'd be delighted to, Paula. Thank you, everybody, for having registered and reserved to go on this experience. It's going to be a wonderful experience, and you're going to be among the very few in today's world that have had the opportunity to experience the brand new Panama Canal. But in addition to the Panama Canal, you're going to be going to and seeing a lot of other places and having multiple positive experiences. As Paula said, you're going to start out in Los Angeles. You're going to overnight in a hotel arrangement that we've already secured for you. There's going to be a welcome to California dinner that you're going to enjoy, just your group. And then the next day, you're going to be transferred to your waiting ship that is in the port that is used by Los Angeles. So moving right along here, Paula, let's just take a slide journey. As we said, you start out in the city of Los Angeles. You're really not going to have a lot of time to see the city itself on this occasion because you're going to be flying in, you're going to be going to your hotel, which is very near the airport, but also very near the pier. It's for convenience and safety's sake and for the assurance of getting there on time and avoiding delays that Paula has already described. But anyway, your adventure begins in Los Angeles, California. And when you get on the ship at the pier in Los Angeles, California, you're going to be aboard the lovely Princess Emerald. It's a beautiful ship, and characteristic of all Princess cruise ships is the central atrium, multi-story, normally about 4 stories high, which is somewhat the focal point or central point or gathering point for many events and occasions when you're on the cruise itself. It's also a great place just simply to go and relax and maybe have a cup of coffee, play a game of Scrabble, have a mixed drink if you like, listen to trios playing music, watch the people go by. It's sort of like the village square, if you please, that's 4 stories high. So that's going to be your example of and first impression of the Emerald Princess, the atrium. But there are other attributes of the Emerald Princess. It is open and luxurious throughout and also on the exterior. Taking you on a quick tour, you can see some of the inside shops that are adjacent to and outline that atrium in the upper left-hand corner. Upper right-hand corner, there are also private places where you can go and have a drink or a relaxing conversation with individuals. That's in the upper right-hand corner. Moving down to the lower right-hand corner, there's going to be places where you can eat and get snacks everywhere. And then, of course, you will want to be on the outside too, and it is just filled with many, many different opportunities to simply sit back and relax or to to become real active if you want to. Continuing on, you're going to be served at a dinner table each evening at scheduled dining. This shows in the lower left-hand corner a room with a balcony. I know most of you, or many of you, have balcony rooms on this, and you will enjoy that. It's not very large, let's be honest, but at the same time, it gives you an attribute and an experience and a way to enjoy what you're going to do. The maitre d' and the chef, they're continually doing things, making decorations, making your cruise into an adventure and a journey. The first community that you're going to come in contact with, and you're going to go ashore, will be in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Many of you are probably old enough to remember when The Night of the Iguana was filmed there. Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. Famous, and that's really what brought Puerto Vallarta to the forefront as a destination for people to go and visit, both simply to spend time on land or also as a port of call. You're going to continue on, and you're going to go to Hualto, Mexico. This is another luxurious area on the coast of Mexico. You're going to see that each one of these places you go is different, and in each of these places you're going to be going ashore and experiencing the people, experiencing the atmosphere, experiencing the culture, and really going away and learning what the other people do and how they live. But you're also going to get into other countries as well. You're going to get into Nicaragua. When you go to San Juan del Sur, again, you can see it's a coastal city, obviously, and it has all the attributes of a coastal city with the accommodations for people to spend time on land or also to visit by coming by way of ship, as you will be doing. Another country that you're going to be visiting is Costa Rica. Costa Rica is known for its rainforest. This shows Punta Arenas, Costa Rica, and there is a jungle walk in that area, and there are also other things that you can see. It's known for its butterflies, its colorful atmosphere, its waterfalls, and its volcano. And then, of course, after you've been to Costa Rica, you're going to be getting ready to enter into the Panama Canal, and this is actually going to be with a stop at Fuerte Amador in the Canal Zone, which is still on the Pacific side of the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal itself, as you will see on this next slide, actually goes not east and west, but generally southeast northwest. In fact, the area that you're going to be entering is at the lower right-hand corner. It says Panama City. That's very near where Fuerte Amador is. And that's where you're going to begin your journey, a daylight journey through the Panama Canal. And you are going to see that you are going to be going north through the canal. You also will be going a total of 28.8 miles west of where you originally started. So although it might seem like, logically speaking, you should be going east and west, you're going actually north and south. It's quite an experience, and you do want to be outside that day. And let me give you a bit of advice on the day that you go through the Panama Canal. Everybody is going to be crowding to the front of the ship. It's going to be a circus. You can do that if you want to. Many people do, obviously. But what we like to recommend is that on every ship, there are certain quiet places along the side, perhaps even from your balcony room or the rear of the ship, that are covered with shade awnings or overhangs to keep you from the sun and also to get away from the crowd. Actually, in fact, if you think about it, if you are standing at the rear of the ship as opposed to the front of the ship, you are actually getting a better view of how those tremendous locks of the Panama Canal work, how they close behind you, how they open, and things like that. The Panama Canal itself is well over 100 years old, and when it was built, it was taken over by the United States because France had given up. They didn't know how to build the canal. It kept caving in on them. They were trying to dig a deep ditch. and a lot of dirt was excavated and removed when the United States took over. But the engineering marvel that was created by the United States was actually, in fact, not a ditch, but a series of elevators in the form of locks that you actually get raised above the sea level and then are lowered back down into the sea level. You will be entering from the right-hand side the Pacific Ocean, and your Miraflores locks are your first encounter with locks. You'll see that each lock is sort of a stair step. There's a lake, Gatun Lake there in the center, all fresh water, and then you start your steps down where you're going to be entering the Atlantic Ocean. The statistics of the Panama Canal are tremendous, and many interesting facts are associated with the Panama Canal as we see these next slides coming up. The Panama Canal. Now, ships traveling between New York and San Francisco save almost 8,000 miles by using the Panama Canal instead of going around Cape Horn. That's why it was so important that as ships have gotten bigger nowadays, the ships that ply the waters of the world are actually too big to go through the original locks of the Panama Canal. Therefore, the Panama Canal has been recreated in the form of brand new, much larger locks. You will actually, in fact, be going through them and getting and seeing how the advantage of all those miles being saved is accomplished by this. Moving on. Another statistic that we talked about is the Atlantic entrance to the canal is 22.5 miles west of the Pacific entrance. I think I said 28. I was speaking from memory, so I apologize. If anyone wants a correct deal, it's 22.5 miles. But this is an amazing thing to me. Millions of gallons of water are used to move your ship through the Panama Canal. But in the entire Panama Canal structure, the old structure plus the new structure, there is not a single pump to pump water. It is all done by the flow of gravity from Gatun Lake, that freshwater lake we pointed out to you, that's high in the mountains. That's why you are able to literally cruise above the trees and above the area that was creating such a problem for France when it was trying to build the canal. It's all done by gravity. An amazing feat. But I said a lot of dirt and excavation and concrete was still done to create the Panama Canal that you will be experiencing. 4.5 million cubic yards of concrete went into the construction of the original locks and dams. Now, you'll see the original locks and dams off to your side, but you will be going and experiencing the brand new Panama Canal. So even more statistics can be added to this figure attributable to the original canal. Moving on. If the materials that were originally excavated to build the original Panama Canal were put on a train of flat cars, it would encircle the world 4 times. Can you imagine over 100 years ago the engineering marvel that this was to connect the waters of the world and the oceans of the world in this magnificent feat? Continuing on, the locks of the canal are 7 feet thick. And that's why I say, standing at the rear of the ship, if you can find an ideal place and scout it out before the day of going through the canal, you probably will have a better observation viewpoint than if you're trying to fight the crowd at the front of the ship. It's your choice. A word to the wise. I can tell you what I have done many times, and that's go to the back of the ship or someplace where there was not a crowd. Continuing on. Excavation of the original canal was equal to digging a 10-foot deep ditch by 55 feet wide trench from California to New York. To me, that's unimaginable, but it was done, and it was even increased in capacity with the brand new Panama Canal that you are going to be experiencing. The Panama Canal project, creating the brand new Panama Canal that I keep referring to, began in 2007 and was completed in 2016. So you are among the first people to get through this canal because still a lot of cruise ships go through the old portion of the canal. But thank goodness for your escorts that you have on this trip. When they were on a canal cruise earlier, they made arrangements for our group now to go through the brand new Panama Canal. And that's why you're on the Emerald Princess, because it is too big to go through the old Panama Canal. The old Panama Canal is that structure in the upper portion of the picture, sort of separated. You can see that there's a large body of water in the front, and then some green trees, and then some water beyond that, and then the mountains in the background. That waterway in the background is the original Panama Canal locks. The brand new Panama Canal that you're going to experience is what you see in the foreground. It's going to be an amazing experience, and you're going to have a wonderful experience. Be up all day. Be careful of the sunshine. It's bright. You don't think you have that much sun. Have headgear. Wear sunscreen for sure, sunglasses, but don't stay inside. Enjoy, and experience. This is another view. You can see over on the right-hand side where that ship is headed. Those are the original locks of the original canal over 100 years ago. The one set of locks that you see over here on the left-hand side are the locks of the brand new Panama Canal, something that is going to put you a pioneer position of travel accomplishments by having experienced on this cruise. You're also then going to go to South America, Cartagena, Colombia, South America. It's a beautiful city, known for its emeralds, ladies, hint. Also, the thing that I really enjoy about Cartagena, Colombia, South America is its fortress, and you will see it. And it, to me, is what original forts are all about. And of course, it reflects the dominance and the occupation of Spain, because this was their territory and their land, and South America was basically founded by the Spanish as their part of worldwide expansion. So from Cartagena, Colombia, South America, you're going to continue on your journey, but now you're coming back to the United States, and you're going to re-enter the United States in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I'm going to now turn this over to Paula to discuss the nuts and bolts of some of the details of this trip that I'm sure you're all interested in hearing.
Thank you, Larry. All of you should have some time back have received a envelope with your cruise documents. If you have any questions about those, do let us know. But after you watch this and maybe look back through everything and read your information, and then let us know if there's any questions that you have. One of the things that you would have received in that packet of information would have been a boarding pass, such as you see here, that has your name on it, your booking number on the ship, your sailing, and everything that's pertinent to you. And a lot of times we get asked the question, and I don't know that anybody did in this group, but people are wondering, why in the world, I've paid for my cruise, why did you have to ask for my credit card number? So if you're wondering that, the reason is, and you see down here that it says your shipboard account. The cruise line, and all of the cruise lines, not just this one in particular, require a credit card on file for everyone for your shipboard account, because there are some things that will be charged to your account. And first of all, everything on board the ship is going to be a charge basis. You cannot order a drink or go in a shop and buy something and pay with a credit card or with cash or anything of that nature. What you must do is put all of those charges onto your shipboard account. And so what this does is guarantee that you don't hop off the boat when you get to Fort Lauderdale and leave them holding the bag, if you will, that people have not paid for their accounts. Shipboard gratuities, if you did not book at a time that there was a promotion to get those complimentary things of that nature, that will be charged. So drinks, purchases, if you do any additional shore excursions other than ones that were included, those will all be billed to you, And then if you review the bill, that you can do that in two ways. First of all, you can go to the purser's office, and in that general area, there's a kind of a machine that you can scan your cruise card that you get when you board, and you can print your account and take a look and see how your charges are coming. Some people watch that and some don't. You also then on during the night, on your last night, you will get a copy that will go in your mailbox or slid under your door that will have your final accounting. And so you do want to look at that, because if there is something wrong, it is much easier for you to fix it while you're still on board than to try to work that out when you get home. So you probably want to maybe take a look at that maybe before the last morning when you're getting ready to disembark, so that you can be sure it's correct. Now, if you don't want to put your charges on that credit card, you can go and pay them some cash, things like that, prior to midnight on that last night. You could still take care of some of the charges without putting it onto the credit card. So that's kind of why and how that part of the trip is going to work. In your information, you should have also received a travel summary that would look similar to this. Now, two things I want to point out. When it says passengers listed on this booking, and you're going to notice that it says vacation protection not purchased. And all of yours will say not purchased. And the reason that is, it simply means that Princess Cruise Protection was not purchased. What we choose to do in lieu of the cruise protection is travel insured, which is a third-party insurance. So you all do have insurance, and in your package you would have gotten the policy. If you're traveling as a couple, meaning husband and wife, the document description of coverage would have been in that packet, and there is a sticker that is on it that would indicate the policy number for each of those two people. And obviously, if you're traveling with a friend or someone other than in the same household, each of you would have gotten a policy. So you are insured. The limits on travel insured are much higher than the cruise protection, and so we do choose to go with the higher coverages. Another thing that I'm going to point out, it says air, and it says cruise only. And again, in our case, that is not, or in your case on this trip, the cruise line did provide the flights. So that would be a difference there. Um, and I think everything else is probably pretty much as what yours would indicate. So when you read through there, you're going to also come to the next page, which is going to have your electronic airline ticket, your e-ticket, and it's going to have your record locator. It's going to have flight information. We will reconfirm that again prior to your departure and let you know if anything there has changed. You also received a luggage tag similar to this one that has your name, cabin number, and the information that the cruise line uses to get your luggage put into your cabin for you. I would suggest that you put this on when you depart home, even though you're not actually boarding the ship until the next day. But it has your sailing date and your ship. So in the event that your luggage is separated you for some reason, does not reach you at the hotel, which it should go with you to the hotel, but if it's maybe left on somewhere in the airport and then it's located, if this is on the luggage, it's going to show that you're sailing and your ship, so that hopefully then they're able to get it to the ship in that way, so that that information is there for them. There was a little card in there that also tells you how to use that tag. You have to make a little loop through the tag itself, and then you put it over the handle and then pull the tag back through the loop and pull it tight. And they're laminated, so it should stay on and withstand handling during the airport loading and offloading. They're pretty sturdy that way. The cruise line normally sends people how to print them. on a piece of paper. You fold the paper and staple it, which isn't very sturdy, but our office does laminate those for you so they're a little more sturdy. You also would have gotten several of the bright green stickers that we use, and if you look at those, and sometimes you have to kind of bend it just a little bit or curve it, and there's some breaks in the back that you can peel the sticky off the back, wrap them around the handle of your luggage, and put the ends together. But do put them around the handle and not put them like on the sides of your luggage or anything. They don't stay on well that way, but they do well if you do put them around the handle. The purpose of this one is so that when Leela, Jean, and Jack are getting assistance with luggage when you're in airports and hotels and such, that they can say we're claiming luggage that has this bright green sticker and it's easily spotted to help assist in getting those. Otherwise, you're going to find that luggage kind of all looks the same when it's going around, and that will assist greatly. Um, it is a good idea to not only put these around your large luggage, but to also put these on the handles of camera bags, carry-ons. A lot of ladies even put them on purse straps, anything that you're carrying with you, because if you leave it set in a lobby or in a waiting area at the hotel, um, airport, when you're changing planes, someone's going to see the bright green sticker in your group and recognize it as belonging to the group. Likewise, if you were to see one, then you would want to call someone's attention to it. Now, if you need more to come home, Jack and Leela Jean will have some extras of those, so be sure and ask. And here's just a kind of a picture of how that will be attached to the handles. This is on a carry-on, so if you wrap that around and stick the ends together, they stay on real well. One of the big questions we usually get asked is, well, how big can my luggage be? And so the airline requirement is that it cannot exceed 62 inches. The way that you're going to come up with that measurement is you're going to measure the height, the length, and the width one time for each of those and add it together, and it cannot exceed 62 inches. In addition, it's very important that your luggage not weigh over 50 pounds. If it does, the airline is going to charge you more than the normal $30 each direction. They'll have overage, either overweight or oversized charges, which really you don't have to be very much over the dimensions or the weight, and right away it's up to almost $100. So you want to be sure that you're aware of that when you're packing and not overpack. You will receive, when you get to the airport and after you have checked in, Jack and Leela Jean will be giving you a Bon Voyage packet that will include a name tag. And you'll notice on the back there is going to be some important information. It will include travel insured's phone number, as well as some emergency numbers in case maybe en route you are separated for some reason from the group, or even once you're on board, there are some numbers for you, such as the cabin number for Jack and Leela Jean. So if you needed to contact them, you would be able to call them, because that will be your phone number, is your cabin number plus the deck number. And then as well their cell number so that you can reach them in an emergency. We do ask that you wear the name tags when you're doing things as a group and when you're traveling. So when you are flying to LA and then when you're flying from Fort Lauderdale back home, it's a very good idea to wear those, because sometimes we have found that there's very long lines in airports when you're getting off of cruise ships, and airlines will actually take a group around, give them some special handling, and the only way that they will take you is when you're identified as part of the group by that name tag. So we do ask you wear it at those times or any time that you're doing something as a group. Another important thing to remember is the 311 rule, and what that means is that nowadays with TSA, you're allowed to only take on liquids or gels in containers that are 3 ounces in size or less. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot take larger liquids, shampoos, deodorants, toothpaste, or things. It simply means you cannot carry them onto the plane with you. If they're larger than 3 ounces, you must put them in your check luggage so that it goes underneath the plane and you don't have access to it during the flight. So that is important. So remember that 3 ounce containers, and everyone is allowed 1 quart and for your 3 ounces, and then that's per person. So one person, 1 quart of 3 ounce containers. One important thing is that if you do have any medications or medically necessary things such as that are liquids or gels, you just need to, when you go through security, show it to TSA and get it approved, and then you can take it. Now, anything that you have that is not a prescription, I would suggest that you do put that into your check luggage so that they don't take it away and you don't have it. One of the things people often ask about is needles and diabetic medicine and stuff like that, and those are perfectly fine. They're kind of used to that, and if you have sleep apnea machines, those things as well are medically necessary and do not count toward your personal allowance of carry-on items, which is a carry-on item and a personal item. And so the sleep apnea would not count in that. So you do want to be sure and have those carried on. You don't ever want to check something, medicines or anything like that. So let's kind of look at some basic things and talk about some of the other important things to remember. If you're planning to use a credit card, it is important that you contact your credit card company. A lot of them nowadays, you can just actually go online and register your travel plans. I would do that, either call or register, although recently we did have a client who said they contacted their credit card and the company said, oh, we don't do that anymore. But unless you know 100% sure that that is the case with your card, I would call them. If you're planning on using it and doing maybe a little shopping or something while you're gone, you don't want to end up finding out that they're not one that's participating in that. Another thing that's important is a lot of the credit cards are going to the PIN, where you have to have a PIN number in order to use it out of the country. More and more of them are doing that. So that's another thing you might want to check with your company and be sure that you know what your PIN is. Or again, I can go online on my credit card and actually change my PIN. So if you don't know what it is, that would be a good suggestion. A passport is very important, and you will not be going without that because you do not meet the rules of traveling without a passport, because you're going out of one U.S. port and you're returning to another U.S. port. So that's very important that you have that passport. The gentleman you see there has way too many clothes. First of all, the airline is going to charge you a fortune for 2 or 3 of those bags, but then they're not actually going to let you on for any amount of money with as much as he has. You basically are going to need some smart casual clothes for evening. Daytime will be very casual, jeans, shorts, capris, things of that nature, because it's going to be warm where you're going. So you're going to want to take your summer things. Now, it can rain and be rainy, so do keep that in mind and take something, an umbrella or something, in case you would have some rainy days. There will be, on a 15-day cruise, there's normally going to be 3 formal nights, and by formal, you're going to see a little bit of everything. You're going to see, first of all, men, you're going to see some tuxes. Not too many of those anymore, but you're going to see a lot of suits. You're going to also see a lot of just sport coats. Now, if those are things you don't really want to do, you also can get by with wearing a nice pair of pants and a dress shirt. A tie would be nice, but again, you wouldn't necessarily have to have a tie. I will say that they have gotten a little stricter over the years, and if you're just going in a shirt, Men, be sure that it's not a short sleeve shirt. Be sure that you have a long sleeve shirt, such as you see there in the middle of the picture with the different clothing items. Um, just be sure, because I have seen them a couple of times now tell men that had on short sleeve shirts that they couldn't come in. Um, the other thing is they're not going to let you have an evening in the dining room with blue jeans or shorts, guys, so be sure that you keep that in mind. And ladies, your acceptable clothing is going to be probably a little broader than what for the men. You're going to see ladies in really long, fancy dresses. You'll see some short cocktail dresses. You'll see some nice dresses. You'll see dressy pantsuits. And, they will on occasion allow ladies in a dressy capri outfit. Honestly, that's not something that I have been comfortable doing because I try to adhere to the rules. So, but nice slacks and a nice top, you'll get by with just fine. But again, no denim or shorts of an evening when you're going into the dining room. I would suggest that you take, you don't need a lot of shoes, but it's always a good idea to travel with more than one pair of everyday shoes. If you're out today and it's rainy and you maybe get your shoes wet and you don't want to go back out maybe in the afternoon or the next day, then your shoes are wet. So I would take at least more than one, or if they split or did something. For when you're out sightseeing, it is always a good idea to wear good, sturdy walking shoes. And then, of course, if you've got some dress things, you're probably going to need some dressier shoes. For formal nights or even the other nights on board the ship, sandals are fine. Again, they're not going to probably let you into the dining room with flip-flops. So you might kind of keep that in mind. But pretty much anything during the day, if you're out and about and go up and take some use of the hot tubs or swimming pools, things of that nature, it's a good idea to have a cover up so that you're not walking through any of the public areas in your bathing suit without a cover up. Temperatures, as I mentioned, are going to be warm. It's going to be summer. It actually can be quite warm sometimes when you're in some of the areas, and I guess especially Costa Rica, Nicaragua, some of those areas can be warm and perhaps even a little humid. So you may want to keep that in mind and have something appropriate for those days. Gratuities are going to be included for the hotels and for there is an included meal in LA the night that you arrive and the gratuity there. A few of you have gotten shipboard gratuity complimentary, so of course that will be something you won't have to worry about. If that is not part of the promotion for the time that you reserved, and we have people, I think, on just about every promotion by virtue of being reserving for the last 18 months. So we've got people on just about every promotion that Princess had. So all of you have different. So if you did not get a complimentary gratuities on the board the ship, you are going to be charged at the rate of $13.50 per day per person that will go onto your shipboard account. Now, if for some reason you think that you're not getting that quality of service, which is kind of unheard of, but that's up to the individuals, you can go to the purser's office, or perhaps sometimes people just wish to hand the cash to the people that you would tip, being your room steward, the waiter and assistant waiter. If you prefer to hand them the gratuity, you can go and have the purser's office not charge it, or you can also have them give a different amount. And, to be honest with you, the majority of people sometimes go and say, I would like to increase it a little bit. Now, if you do that, be aware that if you say, I want to do an extra $1 a day for my room steward, they're going to actually split that $1 a day amongst all three people. So if there is a particular person that you wish to give extra to, you would need to hand it in cash to that person, or it will be shared. But you don't have to worry if you just let them charge it to your account; they'll take care of it. You are going to be doing some included shore excursions that are part of your feature in each of the stops that you're doing once you board the ship. Um, and because tipping is kind of a personal nature, you certainly could provide a gratuity to that driver or driver guide, whichever case it may be. That would be something that you could do. Jack and Leela Jean are not expecting a gratuity, nor would they accept one. They're going to be doing nice things for you and helping you enjoy your trip as much as possible, and but not because they're expecting a gratuity at the end of the trip. And that's always true of our Please Go Away escorts. A really nice thing that you're going to find is that the electrical current in your cabin is just like ours. So there won't be any need for any converters or adapters to use your appliances. So that's something you won't have to worry about. Likewise, you don't really have to worry about having the local currency if you're wanting to buy something. Now, I will caution you that when you're in these places, if you go to buy something along the street, oftentimes people will just, in those countries, just spread out a scarf or a tablecloth kind of thing and have their wares to sell. You want to be sure that you have small U.S. bills because they normally will always take your currency, but oftentimes in the event that you like buy something for $2 and you give them a 20, they often will give you change in their currency. And I don't know about you, but I'm not always sure if I'm getting the right change or if they've taken advantage of me. So I would suggest you have small bills when you're getting off and maybe doing some shopping. Otherwise, the places that you're going pretty much are going to take the U.S. money. Now, that's not to say if you maybe wanted to experience some local cuisine and you went into a place to get something to eat, you might need a little bit of their money, but you can also exchange small amounts of money on board the ship. So if you wanted to give them, get a little bit of money, you could do that on board the ship before you get off. But I wouldn't suggest that you get very much because I don't think you'll use it. At least that's been our experience. And then, of course, if you're going into a public or a local restaurant or a major store, now not the people on the street, your credit card should also work. You will find that probably the Visa, which you see on the top up there, is going to be the most widely accepted. Often places out of the country will not take the other credit cards. Some places MasterCard, but Discover and American Express are very seldom accepted when you're traveling out of the country. And so I think we've pretty much covered all of the things that I would like to cover. Again, after you have listened to this, read through your information, please don't hesitate to either give us a call or email us. Our phone number is 1-800-362-9347. You can always call us Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Or it's easier, just email us answers@travelpleasegoaway.com, and then we'll respond to that just as quickly as we get it. So again,
Paula?
Thank you. Yes.
May I interrupt and make just two very quick observations?
Absolutely.
Okay. This has happened on occasion, and we don't want it to happen to you because there's no need for it to happen. As Paula explained, when you get on board the cruise ship as part of your check-in procedure, you're going to be getting the cruise card. Now, this cruise card is going to be the thing that you use throughout the ship. It's also going to have your stateroom number on it, and it's also going to have your dining room assignment on it. And Paula, you might want to just clarify a little bit more about that if you would, and then when you're through, I'll come back and have one more very brief point.
Okay, and of course that jogged me some other things I want to say. But Larry's correct. We did have had a few people who have not cruised before, and so let's do clarify that. As you check in and you show your passport and get your boarding card, it's going to look like a credit card. And as Larry mentioned, it's going to have actually lots of important information on there. Um, it's going to have your dining, and it's going to also have your dining table number. Now, most likely, from the very first night that you board, you are going to go to your assigned table. And your cruise documents show your assigned time. And from the time that everyone booked until now, Princess has changed their dining times to supposedly make more people happy. And so it used to be at the time we reserved, and everyone was reserved unless you told us otherwise, for early dining, which was at 6 o'clock. And it's my understanding, and you can look at your boarding or your travel summaries, I believe that that has gone into effect, that early dining has now changed from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Now, in the event that you're off the boat at 5 o'clock, then yes, you miss that dining. But don't worry because there are other alternatives. You can either go to anytime dining and you just go and say there's two of us or four of us or whatever, or you can always go to alternative dining such as the pizzeria. You can also go to the buffet in the Horizon Court. And so those are other options. But you do have an assigned time and an assigned table. Also, if dining times change based upon maybe where you're at on a specific day, or to see what times the dining venues are open, then there will be a newspaper that will be left in your mailbox outside your door every evening for the following day. And it will give you information as to what time the entertainment is. It will tell you if it's formal or smart casual dining, but you get this the day prior. Also, there will be information in there that will tell you, as well as usually on your little tickets for your shore excursions, as to where to meet. And of course, you can always ask your hosts because they'll be happy to clarify those kinds of things for you and give you directions. But it is important to always check what's in your mailbox because sometimes there is very important information that is left in there for you.
The other thing, Paula, that I'd like for you to just briefly mention is the fact that the cruise ship is going to be entering the United States at Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
And it's a very busy cruise port, and quite often the Fort Lauderdale airport is somewhat overrun with passengers standing in line trying to check luggage and things like this. We cannot do this ahead of time. We don't always know that it's going to be available, but you know what I'm referring to relative
I
to
do.
checking luggage. If it's available, we would recommend this, but why don't you discuss that?
Okay. Not all airports and not all airlines participate, but there is a program that the cruise ship will offer if it's available on your sailing, and Fort Lauderdale is one that it normally is, and you're flying home on Delta, which is an airline that normally does participate. But again, it's not every time. But you may get some information that if you wish to sign up for pre-check luggage, and there is a fee, but it's really not a large fee. And you can have your luggage checked, and you would put it out the night before like you always do, and you will not see it again until you get to Wichita. And I know that's a little scary to some people because of the unknown, but quite honestly, I've had that done on lots of cruises with lots of groups, and yet to have anybody whose luggage did not get to their home place. But it is really nice because, as Larry mentioned, the ships nowadays hold several thousand people, and it appears when I had looked in the last week or so at the availability on this ship that it's pretty well sold out. So I can't remember exactly, but it's over 3,000 people, I believe, that this ship holds. So that means there's that many people getting off. You have to clear customs and immigration. get to the buses, get to the airport. And let me tell you, if you have pre-checked your luggage and you get to the airport and you can take your information and skip the lines to check luggage, it is absolutely wonderful. So, if you're uncertain, I know that Jack and Leela Jean have done this before. I'm pretty certain they have. So, that's something you can visit with them. I also want to mention that there is a deadline. When you get this information, it's going to say you must do this by like such and such a time on such and such a day, and it is a set time. If you're late because you forgot or didn't get around to it or couldn't decide, then it won't be an option. So if you're interested in doing it, and we do recommend that you consider it, be sure that you meet that deadline. So anything else that you can think of, Larry?
No, other than to say thank you again to the folks for going away. We know that you have a choice when you make a decision relative to travel. We are honored when you give us the opportunity to serve you. Please go away, have a great time, and again, thank you.